This conference will now be recorded.
All set? All right, good evening. The time being 6 p.m., I will call to order the Tuesday, November 12th, 2024 meeting of the Tilton Planning Board. First on our agenda is meet the Planning Board candidate, Janice Boudreau. And we have a little thing on you. Hold on. I did.
I was what that resume was for.
Hold on. I just lost it. Sorry. Stepped right up, which you already did. Oh, it's underneath this one. That's see.
Aha.
Hi, Janice. How are you today?
I'm good. How are
Well,
you?
welcome to the planning board. Do you know everyone here?
No.
All right.
I know Kathy. I know
Okay.
Jane.
All right. Well, my name is Eric Pyre. I'm the chair of the board.
Mhm.
To my left is Tom Damon.
How are you?
Good.
To my right is Jane Alden. She's also vice chair. Christine Dimbitsky. You have to learn how to spell it to be on the board. And Catherine Dawson, who's our selectman ex officio. So she represents the Board of Selectmen when she sits here, right? No?
No.
She's a member of the board, but she also,
No, the ex officio position just means that I came here because I was a member of the
Okay.
board, but I don't represent the selectmen.
all right.
I'm
she
not a
doesn't-
selectman sitting here. I'm a planning board member.
All right, there you go. I stand
But
corrected.
thank you, Eric.
I try.
You do.
I got like 50 points for effort. All right. So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I've lived in town since 2000. I was married to Norman Boudreau, who was selectman for quite a few years. Well, no, actually just maybe 3 or 4 years, and he ended up passing away. I originally came from Samerton, and when I lived in Samerton, I was on different boards up there. I always was interested in town government. My job was very intense when I did my job. I never really got involved while I was working. But then I retired. So I'm on the trustees of the trust funds with Jane, and I recently got on supervisor of the checklist.
Very busy time of year for them just recently.
It was a great time to come on board.
Yeah. Here, you get this. All right. Well, the pressing question I had as I was driving around today was, why do you want to be on the planning board?
That's a good question. I'm actually very interested in the development of Tilton. I'd like to understand it more. I know that you have rules you have to follow when a plan becomes before you and things, because I spent time on the zoning board in Samerton, so I'm familiar with what you do. But I'm just very interested in learning about things that are happening in Tilton and finding out, being able to volunteer and work in that department.
Very good. Anyone from the board have a question for Ms. Boudreau? We do have her resume included in our minutes if you didn't get that.
I have a comment question.
Comment
I'll
question.
make a comment first, and then I have a question. We're a quasi-legal board, which means when we have people come to present things to us, we're like a court.
Yep.
And we're guided by the same rules and regulations members of a jury would be.
Mhm.
Microphone board, please.
Which means that you may have an opinion of something, but when you come here, you have to be completely unbiased. Do you think that you would have a problem with that?
No, I don't. I understand what you're saying. I mean, it's kind of the same way as a supervisor of the checklist in a sense, not quite, but in a sense you can't be political while you're on that board. It's more intense than that. I understand, because sometimes it might be a decision that you might not really want to see, but if they're following the rules, then it's going to happen. I mean, I can remember being on the zoning board and hearing, you know, different things that people were bringing before the zoning board. And it's like, oh, but then everything was, you know, they abided by the rules, so you had to let it go. My personal job was another thing where we had to abide by rules of the state of New Hampshire on running the program. And oftentimes there were things about it that, you know, I was disappointed that it couldn't happen, but rules are rules.
Okay, good answer. Thank you.
Nor should you say something publicly about what you think about something too. I think it's important. If something came before the planning board and I was opposed to it personally, then it's best not to say anything publicly.
That's correct.
Very correct. Mr. Damon?
No questions.
No questions.
All set.
All set?
What do you know about the actual function of the planning board?
I have to admit, not as much as I would the zoning board. I do know that when there's subdivisions and development, that they come before you and that they have to meet what you have for rules in place. I probably, a couple of times I took minutes for the planning board in Sammington, so I had a little taste of what that was.
Okay.
I feel like that's going to be the learning curve, to be honest with you, Kathy. I think
Okay.
that I know what zoning board does really well. I know you look at, and when we had a subdivision next to us years ago, I learned a lot about it because I had to look into it, but I do feel that's where my learning curve is going to come.
Would you have time to take some courses? Most of them are, can't talk. Some of them are online and some of them you actually go for a day.
Yes, I would. I'm assuming they're probably in Concord or, you know, I don't know where they'd be necessarily.
Sometimes
New
they have
Hampshire.
them, you know, 1 week in one place and another week in another place, but they're all in state. But typically in Concord or Manchester is probably the farthest you'd have to drive.
That was sort of like when I became supervisor of the checklist. I had to take classes. I had to go to the state to take a class there. And then one class was all over the state. And it happened, to be honest with you, more convenient for me for the date purposes, to go to Campton. So I went to Campton for a class. So I'm very used to that. And I'm kind of relieved there is that because I think you could walk into this board cold and it'd be a little overwhelming if you didn't have some training of some kind.
If you didn't have some basics, you're right. But there are handbooks available too. This is one that the state puts out. And I think the Municipal Association puts one out as well, don't they?
Yeah.
There's a couple, so there's a lot of.
And there are webinars that are very, very comprehensive and very good too.
Oh, good. Yeah, because I feel I would need that. I can't say I'm coming on here and I'm very familiar with things. I mean, there's a lot I know I probably don't know, but I do like to learn. I was an adult, got my degrees when the kids got older.
Tim Pearson might have some recorded because
Make sure you speak into the microphone, please. Sorry.
Tim Pearson might have some webinars recorded that we all paid for to go to.
Oh, that would be great. And truthfully, I would want to spend some time looking at past meetings because I know they're recorded, and that would honestly bring me up to speed so that I would know what was going on. And I think we're very lucky that we have the meetings recorded so that I could watch that as well in my spare time.
Between midnight and 3 a.m.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a great resource. We also have the local, I forget what, my God, I'm drawing a blank.
Zoning.
Our zoning laws and subdivision, there's rules in there that we have. It's online. It's on the town's website. But I think Pat, you could, once she's confirmed, she could probably get you a copy of that. And it's
That's sort of our Bible.
yeah.
That would be good to have too. Yeah.
And then there's also there's another book. You usually have a copy of it with you, don't you?
Well, they just gave us a copy of the one from the state, as I said.
No, the other one,
White
that's the, all
binder
the,
one?
Oh, the white one?
the soft
She'll,
cover.
she'll get one of
Law
those,
book?
the
Yeah,
law
the law
book
Yeah, I
one.
just put it away.
Yeah, the law book is good for reference. Like,
Oh,
if
She'll,
you
she'll
have
get
some-
all that when she gets confirmed.
Got most of
Plan-
the RSAs in there that.
Oh,
refer to
okay.
plans.
It's the state laws, the RSAs is what it is,
Okay.
with some explanation. It's actually, I just used it.
and some case,
It's a great
it
reference.
gives you some case references, and if you have insomnia, no more.
It'll cure it, will it?
Yeah, it's actually fascinating. When I
Oh,
first
yeah.
came on the board, I was fascinated with it because it was learning.
Yep.
And you never know it all, and you never can know it all.
No.
At least that's my. You always have to keep an open mind. Let's see. Anyone else? No. So, what would next? We make a motion to recommend or not recommend to the Board of Selectmen. All right.
We
Is
could
it-
just do a consensus,
Wait,
Do,
have it in the minutes,
Yeah. So, as a
whatever you want.
yeah, we'll do it as a consensus. So, Tom,
I'm for it.
Gene,
Yes.
Yes.
Welcome aboard.
welcome. All right. So the next step is that it'll be reported back to the Board of Selectmen, and at their next meeting sometime
Next week
next
is
week.
their next meeting.
okay.
So you'll probably, does she have to be at that one, or it's just, then you get, no, she doesn't, you don't have to be at that one, but then our next meeting, she would be sworn in, right?
correct.
So our next meeting would be,
Or she can go to the town clerk and be sworn in.
That's what I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I just went to the town clerk and got sworn in.
so the Board of Selectmen's meeting is the 21st, and then our next meeting is Tuesday, the 26th.
Okay.
We generally meet the second and fourth Tuesday of the month.
Okay.
In the summertime, I think it's only once a month.
Once a month.
Yeah. So
That was actually one of my questions. It looked like it was twice a month, but I wasn't sure.
yeah, overall, it's usually kind of quiet in the summer.
Ah,
So-
really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. In the wintertime, you get everyone like trying to get things done because when the ground freezes up, they're limited. So they're trying to get things ready to go for the spring.
Oh, okay.
At least it's been how I interpret it. So welcome aboard, and we'll see. We're glad to have you. Feel free to sit here today. We forgot the popcorn, so sit back and see how we do it. We have a case tonight that's a continuation.
Okay.
So you don't have, but it's in the minutes, but they were before us October 8th, it looks like. So I thought they're back here in September. No, October. So we'll do that. And if I can find my agenda again, I will get back on track. Oh my goodness.
Go back and sit. Thank you so
You
much.
got it. Thank you very much.
You can.
All right, hold on. No, I got it right here. I flipped it upside down. Thank you, Pat. Put these two over there. All right, next on our agenda is Planning Board Case 24-12, map R10, Lot 2, Sobriety Center of New Hampshire, 100 Alden Drive, site plan review. This is a continuation of their case,
Amended site plan?
their amended site plan of October 8th, 2024. So this is a part 2 of the meeting. And does anyone have, so welcome.
Thank you. If the board will allow it, I was thinking I would just start by going over the basics of the additional information that we submitted.
Sure.
All right, so we did submit an updated plan in full size, so hopefully you can actually see it this time. We added onto the plan the location of the proposed fencing, that's the yellow line. the snow storage location, locations for parking and loading, the location of the dumpster, current lighting, and utilities. With respect to the fencing plan in particular, we also submitted a proposal that we received from the fencing contractor, which is Ultimate Fence. It is a 6-foot privacy fence. It's all right if I walk up. There are 5 points on the plan where there would be either gates or openings in the fence. And if I could just approach, I can point them out to you.
Hold on. Oh, there we go. I gotta get to the right plan. Oh, can we get you a portable microphone? Is there a
So
portable?
there's one,
Oh,
you turn it on.
yeah, you can play.
Button, okay. I'll hold you. All right.
If you want to hold that, you can actually hold that and
All right.
talk into it.
Okay, so the openings or gates will be, this would be the main access right here. And then there are 2 access points near the neighboring location, the neighboring lots down here. So there's one here and one here. There'll also be 2 openings here in order to access the pump house. And that's it. So the main access, the 2 near the neighboring lot line, and then the 2 for the pump house.
Where's the second one over there?
Here and here.
There's a driveway that goes around both properties, so it would be
Right. So we had originally proposed to the board that those either be gated or opened, and we are still, of course, interested in the board's feedback on that. If we did the gates, they would be locked from the outside, so it's more to keep people out as opposed to keeping people in. So people who work or are otherwise at the facility, it would be motion censored, so the gate would open for them to exit, but it would be locked, so individuals from the outside would not be able to enter the property unless they had access. So if the board prefers us to include those gates, we will do that. Otherwise, the plan is to leave that open.
How will you deal with the driveway entrance? Is that also going to be kept locked?
Okay, sorry, I stand corrected. Only the driveway would be motion censored. The other gates would just be double wides with a padlock. And I'm sorry, I missed your question.
The driveway entrance, would that have ingress and egress, 2 cars coming or emergency vehicles of the police from the road? Or will they have to wait until it's unlocked for them?
So if the board would like us to have the gate at the driveway entrance, the way that it's worked at other facilities that I've been at is there's a number on the gate, and when we're calling for 911, when we're calling for emergency services, we would go down and open the gate and leave it open. There's usually ways that you can leave it so that it's open, and that's what we did at the facility I worked at before, and it worked very well. But it's up to the board if you feel that we should have the gate at the front entrance or not. It would be a double wide so that 2 cars could pass at the same time.
I would say whatever the fire department or the police department requires, because it's a time.
Yeah.
If it's 911 emergency, then it's a time issue.
But the police is going to be there long before the fire.
Oh, yeah, it's just because the location.
Yeah.
But, so whatever they would need for
I would,
quick access.
and I don't know if they have a fob but you still got to wait.
If they wanted us to provide them with the code, we could certainly provide them with the code. Or like at the other facility, as soon as we called 911, it would be one person's job as a staff member to go down and open the gate and make sure that it stayed open.
And you said these other gates are going to be locked, padlocked.
That's my initial thought. It could also just be a latch. It doesn't have to be padlocked. But I think that for the security of the property, it would probably be best to have them padlocked.
My only, just looking at this, my only suggestion maybe is in the back near the pump house, take that and go around the outer rim of that down, and so now you're putting the pump house within your secure fence.
True.
And you're also eliminating 2 gates.
Yep.
There is I mean, I don't know if you would put one, but if my recollection is correct, directly in front of that pump house, there is an access to the land back that way. Whether or not it would support a vehicle, I don't know. But I'm just thinking, might as well make the whole thing
Yeah.
secure.
Absolutely.
I don't know how much that would add to the cost, but you're eliminating 2 gates.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it would even out in the wash.
yeah. That's only just my thought looking at it.
Any other initial questions on fencing? Okay. All right, so we also included a lighting proposal. I know that the original version that we provided was very rough, so we have given you tonight a more formal version. That version shows, with the color coding, the location of garage door lights, existing lights that will either be replaced with new fixtures and or lowered. Some of them are currently higher than the 15 feet required or permitted under the zoning ordinance, so a number of them will need to be lowered. The yellow dots are new exterior lights, which again will not be higher than 15 feet. The purple is decorative door lights. Red is lights by commercial doors, and green is the parking lot pole lights. We have provided the contractor with section 2.4 of the zoning ordinance to ensure compliance. The lights will dim every day at 11 p.m. and they will remain dim until 5 a.m. with the exception of the lights in the parking lot. Those will be turned off from 11 to 5 in accordance with the zoning ordinance. We also are planning the lights that are facing, they're going to be on sort of the south side of your plan, the bottom, that are facing the neighboring property. Our plan is to also turn those off from 11 to 5 to avoid lighting crossing over that property line during the evening hours.
On the far left side of the building, on the barn side of the building,
Mhm.
you have 6 spaces that I think technically are on the abutter's property. I don't know if there's a the word I'm looking for, easement, that gives you the right to continue to use those.
There's spaces, you said?
Yeah, you have letter A, 6
Right
spaces
here. Right here.
right here.
Six spaces.
Down lower.
That's on the back side of the building.
Yeah, he's down here.
Oh, he's down here.
Oh, we don't use the spaces that are on that side of the building.
Okay. Well, I just wondering with the fencing, how, so you don't use those spaces at all? Because I believe the property line is like,
So yeah, the property line is the black line, and then the yellow line on this paper over here is the fence. So we're not gonna, we don't plan to put a fence on that side of the building because we don't use that side of the building.
Okay.
Mhm. And
So I'm happy to take questions on lighting or any other aspect of the plan, but just to go over the last pieces of what we submitted. We did confirm that the existing sign is non-conforming and it is not lawfully non-conforming. So we are going to modify it to make it conforming by shortening it. It's not conforming because it's 9 feet tall, measured from the ground, and the zoning ordinance limits that height to 6 feet. So we're going to shorten it so that it is 6 feet in height and is compliant with the zoning ordinance. And we did provide as attachment 6 to our application a proof of what we're proposing to put on that sign. And then we did also submit sewer connection plans in relation to I think it was the 2021 approval, which approved expansion of the facility to 30 beds subject to connection to the Tilton sewer system. That's not really related to our amendment application. That's a separate thing. It's not something we're seeking to amend, but we just wanted to make sure that the board was updated on that process and where things stand with it.
So this is going to continue to be 9 beds
Yes.
for now.
Yes.
This may sound like a silly question, but the existing lights to be replaced or lowered, they're going to be done at the same time the rest of the lighting is being installed, or are you going to delay that until after they're installed?
The plan is to do it all at the same time. Is that right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else from the board?
Has this expansion proposal been before the fire district to see if they have any specific requirements, sprinkling, anything like that?
We have not had any specific communications with the fire department. Sorry. It is sprinkled. I am not sure. It's possible that the fire department gave input when the original expansion to 30 beds went through, but I'm not sure if that's the case. I don't recall any comments from fire when we were before the zoning board. So we have not had any specific communication with the fire department.
The next step that we would be taking after the planning board, if we were to have our plan approved here, would be that we have 4 signatures we have to obtain before becoming licensed, and one of them is the fire marshal. So they will be there.
We just had an inspection up there for the pond, Catherine, from the fire department. The
Dry hydrant
dry hydrant,
and the pump.
whatever you call it, cistern in the back.
System.
They did the inspection, yearly inspection. We thought that was failing in the back. What do you call it?
Talk about the dam?
Dam, yes. And they went up there's 2 going, one going into the other. They just did that. And that passed.
It did pass.
It's weird because they don't own that pond, but the neighbor owns the pond, but there's a right of way or an easement that allows them access for fire suppression.
Correct. 100 Autumn uses it.
So I think the only question left is the background check question we haven't addressed.
Mhm.
For the expert.
And I don't have my previous, I just have double of tonight's.
Mhm.
I grabbed the wrong envelope.
It's in your, there's minutes that were included for tonight. It's, there's a,
The minutes.
the minutes reference it.
But they don't have what,
Oh, what was? I got
right now, what does the town require for the background check? I don't have that.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Just waiting for any questions that you might have. Our proposal is that we would like to remove the background check requirement for admissions coming into our facility. The process that we use at our other facilities is a pre-screening process where we ask questions about any open charges, any past charges, any behaviors, things like that. And then we have, it's called our GYR matrix, green, yellow, red. And if someone reports any charges, violent charges, sexual charges, arson, they always fall into the yellow, and then that needs a leadership approval. The majority of those individuals will likely not be able to be admitted, but there are cases when people are able to be admitted. Perhaps if someone, has an arson charge and they were under the influence, I've seen those people be able to be admitted to the facility because, their charge was related to their substance use. I will say that most sexual offenses are not able to be admitted to our facility. Most violent charges, it really depends on the severity of it. If it's aggravated, then we're not going to admit them to our facility. We look at timing, we look at circumstances, we look at a multitude of different factors because it's for the safety of our staff, of our community, and of the client themselves. And utilizing that process allows us to increase access to treatment, because if we're doing background checks, it takes days for background checks to get back. And in that time, treatment is life or death. So the reality is that if we're holding someone up from getting into treatment because we want to do a background check and we need to wait for that to come back, the reality is that they could die during that time. So our goal is always to get someone admitted by the end of the first phone call, because we know that there's a window of opportunity of when they're going to want to seek treatment, and we want to help them get into treatment as quickly as possible, in a safe manner. And that's what those screening questions are for. And it's a pretty lengthy screening. It takes about 30 to 45 minutes on the phone to answer all the questions. And it goes over all sorts of different aspects, past charges, mental health, medications, those types of things.
But you're relying on their answers as being facts because you're not doing a background check,
That's correct.
just to be clear.
I address that.
Mhm.
Additionally, the law is pretty black and white about 42 CFR, which is patient confidentiality, as well as not discriminating against substance abuse patients for having X kind of background. But with that said, we do screen out patients that have aggressive violence, history of sexual abuse, acting out, perpetrators, because a lot of our patients, probably 85% of our patients, are going to come in with a history of trauma. So when you admit someone with that kind of violent history, it's going to create problems for the patients that are in the program, and they're going to have issues with interacting with someone like that. Then additionally, our primary responsibility is safety to the staff, because if someone's violent, we don't want the staff to have to be a victim of that, as well as the neighborhood. So that's like job one for us is safety. So we're very careful about that. But there are restrictions through 42 CFR, which is the law regarding patient confidentiality and that type of thing. So
But isn't it true they're not patients until they're admitted to be patients?
that's
So
right.
when you're doing the background check, then technically not patients.
Yeah, I've worked in this field for 30 years. No one that I know of in treatment programs do background checks on patients before they're admitted because of 42 CFR.
But this facility at 100 Autumn Drive has been doing background checks since they opened.
Well, I don't know if that's true because we acquired the facility. I know you may have you may have required it, but they were not. I don't believe they were doing background checks on everybody. To be totally transparent with you.
Now you're telling us they're in violation.
Well, I don't know that. I don't know
Telling you
that.
To do it is illegal.
What's that?
You're saying it's illegal to do
Yeah, it is illegal because of 42 CFR.
But that's a patient. They're not patients until they're admitted.
I can answer that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if they're gathering information in relation to substance use treatment, that's what's protected under 42 CFR. So even if they're never admitted, if the information is gathered in connection with the treatment, it's covered by the law.
Okay.
Any other questions about the background checks? I just hope that you'll have the confidence in us to do what we say we're going to do. I think all the papers before you are showing you that we are following through. We're very committed to doing this the right way.
How many of your other facilities are located in residential / rural areas?
That's a good question. I just had a 2-hour meeting with Green Bay last night in Green Bay, Wisconsin, with same concerns. And, you know, staff safety, patient safety, neighborhood safety, that comes up. But I would say probably half of our substance abuse facilities are what you would consider in kind of residential environments. Some of them are even less rural than Recovery Mountain, here at 100 Autumn Drive, just because there's a big swath of land. We have some facilities that are in neighborhoods, literally just opened one in Las Cruces. It's literally in a neighborhood with homes all around it. You can look it up, Las Cruces Recovery Center. We just opened that 6 months ago. No, 3 months ago, excuse me. So we have some that are right smack dab in neighborhoods.
So you're relying on information gathered via a phone call. There's no signed affidavit. There's no swearing or attesting to that the information they are given is true to the best of their ability?
Yeah, to the best of our ability, we have trained staff that know what to look for when they're doing a screening. There's red flags. There's multiple questions that question 2 might be related to question 30, but the person being assessed doesn't know that those 2 questions relate, but they do. So there's some fail safes in any kind of screening, but it's not foolproof. But when we find out that someone is not appropriate, we'll take appropriate action to discharge them to an appropriate treatment center. Go ahead.
And the applicant would be amenable to adding a condition that individuals, when they show up for treatment, do sign an affidavit affirming all of the information that they gave during that screening check.
Again, right now the facility is basically like a sober living environment with clients sleeping over, right? We're going to create, through being state licensed, CARF accredited, a much more oversight from regulatory bodies. And when you go for a state license, that's when the fire marshal comes in and those kind of things. And then if patients have concerns or their loved ones or the community, we are obligated to the state to be open to any kind of investigation, any kind of look into what our practices are, that type of thing. And then we'll go through an annual process then as well. And CARF accreditations every 3 years.
And my understanding is you're pursuing bringing municipal sewer up to the facility?
Yes. Yeah, we have plans for that. Craig Bailey is the engineer that designed the plan, and we'll be coming forth, I think, in the next few days to get that approved. And then we'll tie the sewage into the city sewage. And that was recommended by the planning board, I believe, a few years ago.
You have the plans in your packet.
Yeah. So we're going to be spending probably about $1 million to improve the property and meet the requirements you guys are suggesting.
It does say here that if the protector confidentiality. But also it says exceptions. Records can be shared with law enforcement or a court with a special court order. So there's a process, but I think that would be.
Well, I'm kind of comfortable if they are willing to add that an affidavit is signed when they are admitted that the information they gave is true. I mean, that's a basis. If you find out it's not true, there's a real basis of, okay, you're done.
Yeah.
When you're doing these phone calls today, aren't phone calls? Are these video calls like Zoom or meetings? So
We have the capability to do that, but for the most part, I think they're done on the phone.
Okay.
But we have the capability to do Zoom assessments and those type of things as well. Yeah, go ahead.
So the initial phone call is a phone call.
Yeah.
Once clients admit to our facility, they meet with nursing, they meet with techs, they meet with a counselor. And so they do 3 enlarged screenings right after admission. That's where we'll build the affidavit into one of those, probably the very first one that they're doing with the tech. But then those additional conversations with nursing, and especially with their counselor, is where we kind of get into a lot of the meat and potatoes of what's really going on. And then that would be where something may come up. And then we would look at what we need to take for alternative treatment routes.
Does the existing waterworks, the well, have the capability of servicing the extra, adding 30 beds eventually?
Yes. From my understanding, we needed to verify was that the pressure that we needed to verify? And that was online, and they affirmed that, yes, it was where it needed to be.
I thought that was one of the requirements initially.
Well, DES will, once they, start expanding, will have a whole bunch of requirements that we don't have to worry about because they'll enforce them.
That's right.
Perfect.
But that was more of a curious question than,
Mhm.
I think that's what we had.
I don't remember.
Yep. Mr. Damon.
I'd like to take you to page 3 of your packet here. Paragraph 2. Lines down accordingly, and I'm quoting, according does not necessarily update the DES approval as evidenced by Byron Septic Systems LLC primary septic system evaluation checklist submitted with the initial application of septic system, at least as of April 24, is in good condition. The septic system has been pumped twice since then, and in July and October. I'm encouraged to see that. You don't need the approval. So it has been done. Okay. The other question is, I'm going back to the lighting again. On the lighting plan, I'm sorry. On the lighting plan with the dots marked in green, which would be parking lot pole lights. They are at the maximum of the allowed in the town, or are they at the minimum? What are they, 15 feet?
They're 15 feet,
Okay.
including the fixture,
Including the fixture.
which I believe is the maximum, and nothing can be
Right.
higher than 15.
Okay, thank you very
Mhm.
much. Okay.
Christine.
I was reviewing your code section 42, and I don't see, do you have a reference where it states that prior to them becoming a patient that it applies? I even did, search for information gathering, but it's still, it always refers to a patient.
So that's just, that's the way that I've always interpreted the law, just because otherwise, the point of the law is to protect the confidentiality of individuals who are seeking substance use treatment. And if they don't, and part of the point is to encourage individuals to go forward doing that and not be worried that, if I try to get treatment, my information is going to be put out there and it can be made public and it's going to have problems for me. So if we were to interpret the law to allow someone comes in, they disclose all of their information because they're trying to get in, they don't get in, then all of their information can be made public, can be shared with a municipality's police department. If I'm someone who is in that position who's seeking treatment, I would be deterred. And so I think if you're reading the law in with an understanding of its purpose, that's the way that it should be read.
Okay, so interpretation. I'm familiar with this, unfortunately, not for myself, but someone who's seeking treatment, sometimes that's, they want shelter, or they want to get help, but they're not going to, recover. They're going to lie through their teeth just to get in. And an affidavit is not going to stop them. They don't care. I mean, they care, but their mind's not like,
Yeah,
all
so I can
there.
address that. Once clients admit, you're right, there may be times when someone may lie to get in. And then it's our job as staff, once they're admitted, to try to help them to the best of our ability. And I will tell you that it becomes pretty evident pretty quickly if someone is not there for treatment, and we don't tolerate that. One of the requirements of 3.5 level of care, which is residential care, is that someone is attending groups, is participating in their treatment, attending individual sessions with their counselor, and generally seeking recovery, right? That's what it has to look like. And so at our facility in Antrim, which is also a residential facility, when clients are not behaving in that manner, if they're staying in bed all day, if they're being disrespectful to staff, if they're being disrespectful to their peers in group, then we typically put them on a growth contract, which means that they have to, we address their behaviors, we have them sign something to agree to it. And then the next step, if they are not changing their behaviors, is a discharge. And what our discharges look like is we're either trying to help them get to another facility, because our goal is always for someone to get treatment somewhere, right? There's facilities that might be able to support them better. And if they're unwilling to go to another facility, we typically bring them to one of the doorways. And if you're not familiar with the doorway, it's the spoken hub kind of community resource in New Hampshire. There's one at Laconia at the Lakes Region General. There's one in Concord. So we typically bring the client to the doorway. That way they still have access to resources, and the doorway helps to get them to wherever they're willing to go to next, which sometimes is nowhere. But we make every effort to make sure that they're set up for success, even if it's not with us.
I think sometimes that's a symptom of the disease as well. And you as a professional are in a position to understand that we as laymen are not.
Absolutely.
The other thing I saw on the plan, where the dumpster location is, you still have listed 5 spaces, but it looks like the dumpster is in one of the spaces. And is the dumpster going to be fenced in or no? It doesn't look like it.
We were not planning to fence in the dumpster. The last meeting, we were told that that wasn't a requirement. So at this time, we're not planning to fence in the dumpster. It is located in one of the spaces right now. That's accurate.
So we'll change that to 4. Just wanted to see. Where was the snow storage you said that was changed on here?
If you look on the right side of the property.
It's the north.
Yeah.
It's the north of the
Thank you.
building.
I'm right.
Okay, so, wait a minute. On this, the yellow one, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
See that rectangle?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, there it is.
Do you have any conditions we want to?
Well, I have to figure out, we have to figure out if we open to the public again or not. We have a letter that we. Oh, I thought you said something. Yep. Any other questions from the board? So we have, in the previous meeting, we opened it up to public comment. But we did not. Okay. So we have a letter that has been requested. Oh, okay. We have a letter that's been requested to be read into the record, but that's if the board would wish to open it back up to the public.
I'm fine with that. There's a bunch of people online.
Yeah, we should open to the public.
Yeah.
Yes, we should
Okay.
open to the public.
Yes.
All right. So, Pat, you said you want me to read this in?
Uh,
I'll read this.
The person that wrote it thought he couldn't make it, so he is online.
Oh, okay.
He's online,
I just saw the name. I didn't see it before.
Okay.
Sorry. It
Where
looks-
did you find the author of this letter, the name?
Wait,
It's on the
right
top
here,
left.
This little square, I didn't see it either.
Oh,
Yeah,
Don
that's
Steele.
interesting.
it looks similar to John Hancock.
Okay, thank you.
I've been sitting here flipping through looking
That's
for
what
it. So,
I
all right.
gave up.
So, Mr. Steele has joined us online as well as other people. So, I'll go to the people online, and I'll start with Mr. Steele since he's right there.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. How are you?
Good
Can you hear
evening.
me all right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So my name is John Steele. I'm a butter to the property, 80 Autumn Drive. I think I have to do that as a requirement. So I just had, three primary concerns around the facility, which was, and I'm not sure, I'm sorry, I'm joining late, so I didn't hear all the discussion that was happening. So just on Exhibit A, page 33 of the sobriety application, they state that they may be allowed those with violent crimes in their history, as well as sex offenders and things of that nature. So I just wanted to make sure that the background check is not removed from the requirement of the patients. And it doesn't really matter to me who does the background check. However, I think it should be done because I really don't think that violent criminals or sex offenders should be allowed as part of the facility's acceptance criteria.
So, I don't know if you heard the discussion about.
I think Felicia should answer that.
Yep. Yeah, I'll have the applicant.
Sure. Felicia Orchard. So what we had discussed before is our pre-screening process, where we ask individuals a number of questions in the phone screen prior to them being admitted to our facility. Throughout those questions, there's questions about their charges, questions about their history, mental health, medications, all sorts of things like that. And then we have our screening matrix present in your exhibit. And so anything that falls into the yellow, which would be any sexual offenses, violent offenses, arson charges, needs to be approved by a member of leadership. And there are very rare cases where someone with a sexual offense or with an aggressively violent offense is able to be admitted to our facility. I've seen, individuals who had an arson charge for when they were under the influence be permitted to admit to the facility, or maybe a battery charge from 10 years ago when they were under the influence be permitted to admit to the facility. But recent violent crimes, the majority, I would say it is the exception to allow someone with a sexual offense to admit to our facility. And those are typically the only time that I've ever seen that. There was one where someone was urinating in public and was on the sex offenders list, and we permitted them to admit to the facility. That's probably one of the only ones I've ever seen. Outside of that, we talked about adding an affidavit so that when individuals admit to our facility, they sign an affidavit noting that everything that they said in their pre-screen was true and that they're attesting to that. And I did mention that in their admission, they're meeting with techs, they're meeting with nurses, and they're meeting with counselors, and they're talking about all of their history. They're asking, the counselors ask questions about legal involvement again. And oftentimes if something were missed on the pre-screen, if the client didn't divulge it on the pre-screen, it may come out then. And if it falls against our guidelines, that's when we're transferring them to another facility, or we're discharging them to the doorway if it's something that maybe another facility isn't willing to accept either, and finding them some other form of care.
Well, I'd say that's a great response, but ultimately you are a revenue-driven company, right? And so when you make it up to your decision matrix, it's all internally based. And from my perspective, I just think for this neighborhood and zoning, violent criminals in particular should not be allowed to attend your facility.
I'd also just like to say that safety is our top priority, right? I have the safety of my staff to consider. I have the safety of all the other clients, and I have the safety of the neighborhood. We want to be good neighbors. We want to have good relationships with those people around us, right? Because we're not going anywhere. We're here. We want to work with everyone. We want to work together as a community. Fighting substance use is a community effort, right? It affects everybody, and we want to be able to be a partner with the town of Tilton to be able to help individuals, and that starts with us being good neighbors to the people that are surrounding us. Safety is our top concern. I don't want to ever put my staff in a position where they feel uncomfortable, where they fear for their safety. You know, I'm the one who gets the calls at 3 o'clock in the morning if something's going wrong, and there is nothing I hate more than getting a call and wondering, you know, I just want everyone to be okay, right? So we do everything that we can to make sure that those variables are protected.
Okay, I still disagree that violent people should be allowed there. So is there any way that we could make it like a particular decision of the board that violent criminals are allowed or not allowed there? Because I just, you know, my home is 50 feet away. I have concerns, right? So although you get the first call, I probably get the first knock. So
I really don't think you're going to see a difference or a variance from the clients that have been there over the last few years. And so we're going to actually have even further screening, further oversight from the state, further oversight from federal. And as Felicia said, our staff safety is a priority. And also our patients' safety is the main priority. So I appreciate what you're saying. I acknowledge your position, but I think that you can trust that we will screen out, I think, the type of person you're assuming maybe we won't, that'll slip through. I think we're pretty schooled at that. We're trained at that, and we know how to deal with that. And it's called deflecting the patient to a more appropriate spot. We're not going to be taking adjudicated people that have been in prison and those kind of things. So just FYI. Plus, there's some legal issues we discussed before you joined around 42 CFR, patient confidentiality. A patient, as soon as they call us and we make that connection, that's our responsibility. As soon as they're on our property, they're our responsibility. So we take that very seriously. But there are protections of their information. So
understood. So I'll still respectfully disagree. I'll leave it to the decision of the board. I'll move to the next concerns, which is primarily, and I didn't see the fence plans reviews, but in the original fence plan review, there is in the top right-hand corner of the property in the back corner, the fence actually goes I would say about 18 feet from one of the buildings on my property, and I was concerned there just for fire truck access for being so close to the fence there. So part of my request would just be a 10-foot setback of the fence all the way around the property so that you can essentially maintenance the fence as required without being on my property. And then also, I noticed in the preliminary plan that it was a standard wood fencing. Um, with the freezing temperatures, the wood contracts and falls apart quite quickly. I would suggest to the board that a composite material that's less prone to winter damage be used. Also, an 8-foot fence, especially if violent criminals are there. And just to confirm clearance of the fire truck in the back corner, I would actually suggest for the group, the planning board, to walk the property to see where the fence would be, to see, and also a fire marshal to see and confirm that a truck could get and access both properties in case of a fire.
To clarify, on the fencing plan that's on the updated site plan, it is 12.5 feet on that back corner from the property line where the yellow line falls. And also, we are planning to do a white vinyl fence.
Okay, good, thank you. And just for, yeah,
there will not, you continue to say this, but there will not be violent criminals in our program. We will screen those out. That's all I want to say about that.
I'm just going by your decision-making grid, right, which says that maybe any record history of sex offenders, violent crimes, or domestic violence may be admitted, right? So when I say violent criminals, I'm just using your terminology, nothing else. I don't mean anything by it.
Thank you.
We'd also be amenable to a condition of approval if the board feels it's appropriate that we meet with the fire department. And if the fire department has concerns about the fencing, we're happy to make any changes to ensure that the fire department can access at all of the access points.
Yeah, but maybe we'll talk about that. Okay.
Okay, so I think concerns are addressed in the material. I still would like an 8-foot fence if possible, just for the type of person that may or may not be there. I did also mention that in the transfer deed, it does state that the owner of the property maintains a suitable barrier to prevent any use of the driveway, which is not authorized by this provision. So it's actually in the deed that a fence or suitable barrier is required. I just wanted to note that for the board. My final concern is just around insufficient fire suppression, and I think this would go into getting an inspection of the facility. But currently, any fire that would occur at this property is supplied by my pond on 80 Autumn Drive. Primary concern here is that I don't know if the new owners have seen the actual setup where the fire department comes up and actually runs all the I'm forgetting the term, the fire hydrants, right? But from my understanding, the pump has to be primed. They have to set up to the fire hydrants, and getting all of that water primed when they had come and set it up as a test, and I think this was prior to their acquisition, it appeared that 15 to 20 minutes was about the time that they would actually get water to suppress the fire from the pond. So just a recommendation or consideration to the board is maybe town water or maybe a water tower that would apply more or expedient water supply to the building should any fires occur.
That would be a fire district decision.
Yeah, that would fall under fire district.
So we could, along with the access, ask that the fire district look at that fire suppression.
And if you have a sprinkler system, do you have tanks in the building somewhere?
It pulls from the pond.
Oh, it completely just pulls from the pond?
Mm-hmm. And the fire
Yeah.
district already said it was adequate.
Oh, we don't have a record of it.
Okay.
There's nothing here that says that. These hydrants are dry hydrants, correct? They're not
From my
pressure
understanding,
hydrants.
yeah, from my understanding, yes, because when the fire department came up, they had to wait for the water to be supplied, and then it was trickling out, and then they got firm pressure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So those are my only concerns. Again, just I would really like an 8-foot fence. It looks like the fencing plan is vinyl, so I'm quite happy with that. So I appreciate you listening to my concerns, and I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to comment online? Well, anyone here that would like in the public that would like to, yeah, we just have to get you a microphone. Sorry.
Out of the way. She wants to come up here.
Sorry.
One on the table.
It's just, you can take this one. Just press the red button. You can hold it if you don't feel comfortable in front of. Yeah, the red light's on. So
Yeah.
just please identify who you are.
Okay, I'm Birgitta. I'm a resident at 80 Autumn. I just, again, I want to emphasize that my safety is is kind of a concern of mine, and I would appreciate if we could get the 8-foot fence then surrounding the property. It would make me feel a lot better because I'm alone a lot during the day, and I don't want to feel afraid. And again, like sometimes there's always a first time for patients to not act well or act up. And I have had visits at the door, not, just to say, hey, I'm here to register. And so we really need to, make boundaries so that I don't have to answer the door to those things. And again, in the past, neighbors have complained about certain incidences. So, it can't be the same as it was before because that's not feeling safe to me. So I just want to I iterate that to all of you.
Whoops, sorry.
I just want you to know that your safety is also my priority, and I'd be happy to give you my business card if there was anything, and you can call me personally. I think that with the fence and also improving this, well, there's no sign right now, but well, there's a sign, but it's white. So putting up a sign, I think will hopefully help to deter some of the traffic from going to your property, or maybe we can consider putting some other sort of signage. I'm not sure what the town ordinances are, but maybe something on our property, but further down the road, something that indicates to keep going. I would be very open to that. And I also want to just bring up again our observation system that we have. So we have a platform called Observe Smart, which is not in effect right now because it's not a residential facility. But if we become licensed, Observe Smart is a Bluetooth beacon system. So clients have to be rounded on every hour. That's a state regulation. And we have a Bluetooth system where each client wears a Bluetooth beacon and it pairs to an iPad, and the staff member has to be within this close, 5 feet, to be able to pick up their beacon and be able to round on them. And then I get reports and I get notifications if the rounding isn't happening. So we're able to follow up on that in real time.
Oh, we have to have you on the microphone for the record. I'm so sorry. You can take it right to your seat.
So the beacon system, is that something that the patient signs that agrees to that bracelet, and they don't have to do the signature, so therefore they don't have to wear a bracelet? I mean, aren't there those
They have to
issues?
sign to agree to it, but if they don't sign to agree to it, they can't admit to our program.
Okay, so you're requiring them to do that.
Correct.
And if they don't sign it, then they get to leave.
Correct.
Okay, but also realizing that, it's like 3 minutes to my front door. It's your
I do
window
realize
time
that.
there is a little.
I think with the fence, that's going to delay.
Okay.
Right. So
Okay.
my thought is on the back door the back door that faces your
Faces
property,
us,
right?
yes.
We have alarms on some of our doors in Antrim. They're fire alarm doors. If you open the door, one, we can just leave it locked. I can put a lock on it. But if you open the door, then it alarms. It's very loud.
So just to make clear then, your fencing, is it going to be going on the backside at all, where that there will be a fence that?
I was not going to put a fence on the backside. I was going to cut it off at the corners of the house, mostly because it's very tight back there, and to be able to put a fence back there would really cut into everyone's space. Honestly, it didn't seem, when I was walking with the fencing companies, it didn't seem prudent to put a fence on that side of the house. It's not going to cover the windows because it wouldn't be high enough to cover the windows. We just won't use that side of the house, right? I'll alarm that door and we won't go out that side of the house.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Anyone else from here in person? I will close it.
I just had one question.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask if I could just request that the door be fenced off from their property. We don't want any access, like even through a doorway, even if it's alarmed. And I hope you understand that. It's just, we're trying to maintain our privacy, and we don't want any access points to our property from their property. And we have had people come over from their property. And for example, we had an ice fisherman that walked over into our pond, and we had to tell him to go back over to the facility. So I think for just a safety reason, we'd really just like that fenced off if that's at all a possibility.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a few words too online.
Please identify yourself.
This is Steve Bunce from 59 Autumn Drive. I'm not sure if it was the current owners or the previous owners cut down the trees along the road, but the trees were tall enough to where they would block the parking lights from coming into my windows. So once those trees were removed, now the light does come through bedroom and living room windows. So I would like to make a request to either plant trees or turn the lights off at night or something something along those lines.
All right, so we do have plans to dim the lights at night and turn off the parking lot lights as well as the lights that are facing Mr. Steele's property. I'm not sure.
So
Across the street.
previously the trees would block it entirely, where there was no light on my property.
He's a-
Just trying to orient like where the trees would have been.
I'm more than happy to come over and show you as well. I think the stumps were freshly ground, so.
Okay. So I think that shutting off the pole lights will be really helpful in this regard, and those will be turned off at night as required under the ordinance, and all the rest of the lights will be dimmed. So, so hopefully that will resolve the problem. I'm not sure. The pole lights are not dimmed right now, so. Oh, okay. The building lights are not dimmed right now, so so hopefully that will address the concern. But of course, if there are issues once all the lights are set up, I'm sure. I mean, Felicia's always available and willing to share her information with anyone if someone is unhappy with the setup. We're happy to make adjustments.
Okay, great. My next question would be for the board, and this would be, does this ruling follow the property or the property owner? So my concern would be where the applicant has stated multiple times, we hope that you trust us. My concern is that, okay, well, if they were to sell this property, the next owner may not have the same moral code. So while we may trust them to make the right decision on not allowing violent people in, okay, if they sold it to Joe Schmo could allow violent criminals. So my question would be, does it follow the property or does it follow the applicant?
Follows the.
If we make it a condition, then it follows the property.
Yeah, if we make a condition, it'll follow the property.
Okay. Do you understand my concern?
I do. I can't speak for the board, but I do.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
All right. I'm now going to close it to the public at 7:13. Bring it back to the board. Christine?
Just going back to the fencing, you said this dark black line is your property line? Yes?
Yes, the dark black is the property line and the yellow is the fence.
So the yellow has no setback except over by this gate. Oh, wait, all this over here. And nothing on the back. Sorry. Do we have a setback on fencing in the ordinance?
There's a setback here.
I think we do.
There's no setback here.
The law allows boundary fences, but it can be difficult to maintain them and install them if you're putting it on the boundary.
Because you can't
Because it doesn't
repair it.
mean you
Yeah.
can necessarily cross the boundary onto the abutter's property without their permission to install the fence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we could move everything else like
Mhm.
10 feet in.
We would be happy to move everything in the front 10 feet in. Where I would see it would be difficult is if Mr. Steele would like us to put a fence on the back of the property. There's barely 10 feet there.
Right.
So that will be difficult to figure out how we can do that, but we'll work with the fencing company to do it to the best of our ability with the pavement and with the buildings that are there.
So 3 sides, you'll be moving it in 10 feet,
Correct.
and then you're still in question as to the back.
Correct. And I'm more than happy to, meet with Mr. Steele with our fencing company and determine the best route for that to work.
The backside, they don't need to have the 10 foot all the way across because that whole tongue, if you will, is their property.
The west side?
Oh,
I mean, the
I call the back,
I was
west side?
yeah, you're looking,
Yeah, this is there, but I was talking right here.
right, that's where they're talking about, they have to work with the fence company.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they're willing to accommodate
Mhm.
Mr. Steele's request.
Is there any opposition as to an 8-foot fence on your,
We put
Yeah.
6
instead of
They'd
a
ask for
6-foot?
8 pricing difference, but
I'm fine with an 8-foot fence.
that's what I said, yeah.
And on this, where Eric had spoke to, are you going to be going around, what is that? The pump station, or no? Keeping it the way it is?
We can go around the pump station. I think that probably makes the most sense, honestly.
I-
It's,
I'm just looking at it.
yeah, I think that makes the most sense. And for ease of access, I think that would probably be the best.
Hmm. Do you know where the closest fire hydrant is to this property that's not a dry fire hydrant?
I do
don't
not know, I'm sorry.
No, the ones along Route 3 in the Lockmere area are
Like-
not fire hydrants.
Right.
They're cleanouts for the water system.
Oh.
So the nearest fire hydrant would be,
Lancaster.
Maybe down
There
the
is,
street.
is there one down by the inn?
Dry
the-
hydrant.
no,
You probably have dry hydrants that we want.
the new
No hydrant.
The new hotel, I think.
the new hotel, there will be a cistern installed.
I'm putting in mine, yeah.
Oh, you're
and-
talking about the Anchorage property.
Yeah, the
Or
Anchorage
former
property,
Anchorage property.
the former, and then down, I don't know those streets very well. You know, and I don't know if it's, I think it's before the former Anchorage property, but those like A Street,
Liquid?
and down there is a cistern down there that goes out to
Lakewood Ave.
yeah, there's a cistern there that goes out to Lake Winnisquam. So if you drain Lake Winnisquam, that's a doozy. But that goes out. I know that they put one in there. And that's just from my experience as a former fire commissioner. So
Is there reference or codes that we can look for? You keep speaking of federal and state oversight. Where can we see what your oversight would be?
Sure. So the regulations to be licensed is the 826 regulations.
Is that federal or state?
State.
Okay.
HP,
HEP, I think.
HEP 826. We have them in your, I think we copied them a couple weeks ago I can send them to you.
Okay. And is there a federal one?
So additionally to the state licensure, we would be seeking CARF accreditation, which is a nationally recognized accreditation. There's a big book of guidelines that we have to abide by to achieve that.
What kind of accreditation was that again?
CARF, CARF.
Oh, CARF.
anyone else? Mr. Damon?
What's that?
Catherine?
Good, thank you.
What we? The board have any other questions? Now we have to
Make the list.
make a list.
I would like to suggest a little bit of time so we can see what these regulations are, that because if they're to see the regulation on the background check as well as just to feel more comfortable. I can look now.
Why we wait till the last minute to do that? They
I
told
know,
us
she
that when
said
they've
she has a
been here
copy right
before.
now.
You've had a copy for a
I
long
was going to
time.
say,
Is,
Two
Is it
times ago, we got the
not
copy.
open for the public anymore?
No,
No.
just on the board.
I'd like to make sure that the fire suppression is adequate.
Just make sure you speak into the microphone, please,
I'd like to
sir.
make sure the fire suppression is adequate. To have the fire department check that. That's not only to protect you, but your neighbors and your client.
I believe that the abutter is connected to that somehow too.
It'll just be, require them, they'll have to
Yep.
get a,
Right, they have to
land
get,
use will have to get a report from the fire district
yep,
before they get an occupancy permit or
correct.
permission to move
Then
forward.
it would just make it part of the,
Just make it part of the conditions
Yep.
that they contact them.
um,
Do we want to make sure that there's clearance for the fire trucks, because that has been a concern?
Can you speak in the mic, please? Because I have to write these down too.
Make sure that there's clearance for the fire trucks to get in and around the property. That was a concern of, I believe, Mr. Steele.
I think review by the fire department specifically asking for adequate fire suppression and fire truck clearance around the
Access.
property.
Mhm.
Access. There, I do know that just beyond the driveway to 100 Autumn Drive, there is a dry hydrant that connects to
Thank you.
that pond. So they could connect from that spot. It pulls from the pond. It turns on the pumps when they connect and pulls on that. So, and then
Another condition is the lighting on, I believe, Mr. Bunce's side, to make sure that that's
the part of the two,
adjusted so that it doesn't shine into his windows.
that was 59.
You could simply say no light pollution from the property.
Yep.
It doesn't bother anybody.
What other?
What else?
They agreed to the 10-foot setback on the fencing. And
Well, I don't think we specifically gave them a number. They were going to determine what was the
enough for them to maintain the other side.
enough spacing to maintain the property on the shared.
That's Mr. Steele's side?
Well, no,
It's 3 sides.
Mr. Steele's property goes diagonally across
Okay,
that
all right.
property. So on the 80 Autumn Drive, that, so
There's 3 sections.
Adjacent to 80.
yeah, enough fence clearance along 80 Autumn Drive.
8-foot fence.
Hold on, I'm not doing this very well.
And they agreed to work with this bottom half with, I think, is that Mr. Steele? On that fencing problem.
Yep.
And also lock and not use the door, I think,
Yeah.
adjacent to what number? 80?
Well,
The fire district
just
may
gonna say that-
require that
Okay.
as an
that maybe
egress in case of a fire.
Yeah, I'm sure that would be an egress there.
But they could have
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
microphone, please.
Sorry.
if the board could confirm whether you'd like for us to include the gates. There were the options to just leave that open or include gates. It's sounding like the front gate, right? That was the front gate with the motion sensor on the inside and locked on the outside. We're happy to include that if the board would like us to, just like to confirm that.
When you refer to the front gate, are you talking about the driveway gate?
Yes.
That needs to have whatever emergency access the police or fire department requires.
I don't know if they'll have like a little fob, or again, if they're dialing 911, if they dial 911, they're going to run down and open it up, is what I heard or understood.
Humans make errors.
No, I get it.
Middle of a blizzard, middle of the night, slip and fall, delay.
You ever hear of a Knox box? No, it's a box that's impenetrable. It's outside the gate, and the fire department comes, take the Halligan tool, smash the glass in the Knox box, and it allows, there's something inside that allows them access. It's called a Knox box. Done all the time in tight security places for fire access.
Yep.
I'm not suggesting that you use it. I'm just just suggesting the Knox box.
It's an example.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So we can meet with fire and police about what they want in terms of making sure that they have access. If it turns out that they don't want us to have a gate and just want it to be open, is that something that the board would be comfortable with, or should we really push to have a gate there with some sort of access mechanism?
Well, the fence doesn't make sense without
I would.
a gate.
Okay, understood.
So if you tell them that the planning board's requiring
It's a requirement to have the gate.
a requirement, they'll figure it out. Do we have any other conditions? Mr. Damon?
I'm good.
Okay.
Lights are all set. The fence. Gate.
Can you read them off so I?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm not making a motion. I'm just going to see what they are. Just make
Yes.
sure I got them all.
Me too. All
Okay.
right, that's good.
So I have fire suppression is adequate from the adjacent pond at 80 Autumn Drive. Including clearance for the trucks all the way around the building. Or as required. No light pollution onto adjacent properties. I didn't write this right. Enough fence clearance along the border of 80 Autumn Drive to allow for maintenance and upkeep of the fence without encroaching. Sorry. You're catching on.
I think on that side of the building, it's really, really tight. Can the wording be that we'll just collaboratively decide where the fence is going to be on that
Yeah,
side of the
but
building?
you also have that across the lawn where your
Okay.
property line runs diagonal. That's where I was
Okay,
kind of
perfect.
thinking. So
Yeah, I'm just concerned about the back of the building because there's
no,
there's not a lot of space there.
it wouldn't fit. I know that.
Okay, thank you.
Well, looks like Mr. Steele owns the north side
So
as well.
what?
Is that still 80 or is that a different number?
No, this is all.
Oh, yeah, that's him.
But on mine shows
No,
John Steele
yeah.
owns the top.
Yeah.
I'm going to call
Oh
it
yeah.
the
So
northern
we got to
side.
think. All right. Let me rephrase that. So I'm going to take away 80 Autumn Drive
Just
because
put a butter.
along the abutting property, because 80 Autumn Drive circles that
So
entire
a 10-foot
property
buffer
all the way around.
enough to maintain distance
For maintenance.
for maintenance with the abutter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I forgot that. Good catch, because it does go all the way around that property. Except for the back tongue that I called it. That's their property, so they can
Good description.
they could zigzag it for all I care.
Okay.
All right. The fence shall be 8 foot.
Yep. And go around the pump station.
And go around the pump station. So along the driveway.
8-foot vinyl fence.
8 foot vinyl fence, as they quoted. Do we want to put meeting with the fire and police and fire to review gate access?
Mm.
I'm going to rephrase that. Gate access from Autumn Drive.
Anything else?
Anything else?
The affidavits, but I think it's pretty clear. There's a pretty clear statement that those will be signed upon admittance.
And I think that rule takes care of, I forget what it was called, 842, 642,
8, yeah, 42 CFR.
42 CFR. Thank you.
You want me to make a motion with those?
What about make it a condition it follows the property?
Well, when we make it a condition,
Which
the
follows the property.
no violent criminals.
Oh, yes.
Well, I thought you were going to say that. I'm not sure that that's what Steve was thinking.
That's subjective.
I thought he was thinking that all of the rules were following the property.
That's what he wanted.
Well, anything that applies to our zoning ordinances does, and any conditions we make. But he was talking about, I may be wrong remembering this, was very concerned about violent criminals being admitted.
That was John Steele.
So
That was John.
it can only be it would only follow the property if we made it a condition of this site plan, because there's no requirements in our zoning for it.
Yeah, zoning carries with the property, but
Pardon?
zoning carries with the property from owner to owner.
Site plans stay with the property, not with the owner. We site plan
With the property, that's what I meant.
Why
not
don't we
owners.
say that they adhere to those two, whatever you handed out? I don't know what the
The
numbers
state and
are.
federal, oh,
That- the
HEP,
Well, they don't have a
federal and
choice.
HEP 826.
And that will take care of,
They don't have a
that.
choice.
I don't,
Adherence to all state,
State,
and
local,
state,
yeah.
local, and federal
yeah.
requirements.
Yes.
Any others? Because I'm going to make a motion.
I can't think of anything.
I'll make a motion that those conditions be adhered to.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
What was the motion?
That those conditions, you want me to read them again?
No,
Be adhered to.
don't go off my list because it's
Okay.
Oh,
haphazard.
what do we?
is your motion to accept the amended site plan with
To
these
accept the
conditions?
amended site plan with,
With
Those
those
conditions.
With the
conditions.
following, with those,
Okay, second.
okay?
do we need to read them off again?
No, she's just.
Well, you want me to try? Just mine.
Yeah, let's just make sure we got them all right.
I'll try. Okay, let's do that. Just in case we don't have them all.
Okay.
That we have an 8-foot vinyl fence that goes around the pump station, a 10-foot buffer enough to maintain a comfortable distance with the abutter. We have fire suppression, adequate fire suppression, and clearance with the fire trucks to get around, to get in and around. No light pollution to abutters' properties. Did we decide on no access to a butter, or you left that up to the fire department
For the gates?
for the gates? because you said you might need that access to the.
You might need that to get onto the.
Right, okay. And then the front gate, emergency access, the planning board wants it, but the abutters, the applicant will meet with fire and police to find out what kind of access that they will
Is
have,
required.
that they would require. And then the affidavit is signed on admission and adhere to all local, state, and federal guidelines.
Yep.
That it?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Larry?
All right. You want to make your motion?
I did.
Oh, okay.
And
And I
Catherine
seconded it.
You seconded it?
I seconded it.
Okay. Sorry. I lost it there for a
I
second.
understand.
All right. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Nay.
That's 3-2. 3-2. Motion passes. We'll see you in the next round. You're welcome. Thank you. Oh,
What are we doing with this?
Yes. I think we probably should have listed what the amended site plan was amended. That's one of the reasons we didn't.
all right. The time being 7:37. We had on our agenda to work on zoning amendments for 2025.
Running out of time.
We are running out of time.
Yeah, Catherine looked it up. We need 5 weeks before the meeting.
The 5th Tuesday prior to town meeting is basically what we have.
So that's that's,
So that's, if you figure we've got till the end of January.
I don't want to say we have till the end of January. I want to say we have till the end of December. Because in January,
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'd rather
too.
get something.
We've been through waiting till the last minute too many times, and
Yeah.
I can tell you that we have 2 probably quick ones, that reasonably ones that you might want to delve into tonight, and then on the November 26th meeting, it's closed, correct? So on the November 26th meeting, it's closed and we do not have cases. So it can be a workshop.
Make it a workshop. Yeah, we
So
definitely have
if-
to use it as a workshop.
If you at least want to get them, two of them done, that would be great. And the first one, the first one would be the building permit renewal.
Oh, that's what that's. Okay.
And
So that was on the bottom of the stack.
yep,
Yeah, it's just like this kind of piece of paper.
that is. So the building permit, as it states, says building permits must be renewed 1 year after issue. If the work is not completed, there should be no additional charge for renewal, and variance and/or special exceptions need not to be reapplied for. So what's been happening is we've had a couple this year that have reapplied 5 and 6 times. In that 5 or 6 years, building codes have changed.
Yeah.
Okay, so the lawyer has given us some language in the second portion, in this other, the the second paragraph there that says 10.2.
So in a nutshell, they get one renewal. After they receive the building permit, they get one renewal at a year if they apply for it before the expiration, and that's only valid for one more year. And then that's it. They have to reapply.
They'll be required to, if the work is not complete after 2 years,
Right.
the owner must apply for and receive a new building permit and will require to comply with any newly adopted or applicable provisions of the New Hampshire Building Code effective as of the date of issuance. And that's the key. That's what we want.
Yep.
Because there have been several building permits since the 2 or 3 building permits that we've given out, that they've just continued the permits and continued them. And
So why wouldn't we allow them to continue to renew, but require them after 1 year, have them comply with any new building code changes?
I think that's what this is.
That's what it is.
This
No, this says after the second year, they have to comply.
well, it says may be renewed for 1 additional year if the work's not completed, which makes it the second year, Catherine.
Right, so I can get a building permit and not have to worry about complying with building code changes for 2 years. So my point is, why wouldn't we require them? If I go in for a building permit, I mean, typically somebody comes in for a building permit, they need to build something, then it's not a stall tactic. So,
that's what's happening now. Is there?
but for some, but for most part, somebody comes in for a building permit, they do the project and they're done. But some, it's a stall tactic. So my point is, building codes change yearly, really.
Mhm.
Isn't it like every 5 years they come with new building codes, or 3 years? I forget.
I think it's every 3 years.
They have a committee down there that looks at them and whatnot.
I'm not really sure. I can't answer that.
But even so, if there's a building code change, wouldn't you want somebody to comply with it?
Mhm.
So,
Well, if I get my building permit today on November 10th or whatever today is,
you've
12th.
got a year to complete it.
Right, but I got a year to complete it. But now January 1st, the building code changes. Does that mean I'm building out of code?
No, it means that if you come in to renew that building permit, we don't have to charge them the fee all over again for that second year.
It's
But I
fee
think they should
related,
at
not
least comply with any
Right.
building code changes
And
in that second year and every year after.
here's the problem that I have with that. You are building a house and you get the house all framed in, tight to the weather, start hanging rock, and the building code changes. Now to comply electrically and plumbing with the new building code, you gotta rip the walls down?
Well, no, but don't
No.
you usually build a house within a year?
You're not if you're doing it by yourself. The guy on Cale Hill Road took 3 years to build his house. He built it himself.
That's a good point.
Right.
That's a good
And then
point.
and then you have the availability of product as well. And that's what also takes the time.
When I'm using that special Italian marble to put in my shower, it may take 2 years to get here.
Especially if you go and get it and come back.
Well,
Well, if I'm going there, I'm not coming back.
Is this code sensitive or cost sensitive? In other words, is it because you want the fee?
No, this is this is safety. This is code.
Yeah, it does say at the state level, it's usually every 3 to 6 years
Is
is
it?
when they visit it. Yeah.
All right. So
Takes
then
them that long to get into it.
That answers that question. Thank you, Tom. So this would essentially close that door, and after the 2 years, they'd have to get a new building permit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do other towns charge for renewals? I mean, you still have to do paperwork, right? I think we should look to see if
Hold on a
town,
minute.
okay.
It could be a
Our
partial-
department doesn't charge nearly enough for anything.
No,
a partial fee.
They don't.
no.
I don't care.
I don't care what other
I was
towns
gonna
do.
say, I don't care what other towns do.
We're coming up 3 years, so.
Why do you care
But
what
we're
other
ready
towns
for
do?
inspection
Eric.
now.
That's the best.
I put a roof on once. It took me 6 years.
We are in the process of looking at our fees currently because we're
Thank you.
really low, but let me just see if I can tell you that.
Because everybody else charges, we can take out this no additional charge thing.
So
That's a rubber band.
Bristol on a renewal permit, yes.
I think they do, yeah.
Um,
Mm.
Hampton on a renewal permit does.
Do they charge full price?
Uh, Hampton does not.
Why do we care what other towns do?
Bristol,
Don't answer.
Bristol does.
Well, I mean, part of me wants to say, look at it, evaluate it in a couple of years to see if it's made an effect, if it's had an impact on stopping those.
Charge it. I'd say
Lollygaggers.
charge.
And if you keep renewing it, the town's losing money. But if we say, okay, 2 years, you have 2 years to build your garage.
That's why I asked if it was code sensitive or money sensitive.
I think it's both.
It is
It
both.
should be both, yeah.
It is both.
Laconia does not.
So 2 out of 3 so far, yes.
So I'd make a motion to accept the new language for 10.2 building permit renewal.
I second that.
Motion and a second. Discussion.
I'd still say take out the no additional charge, but it'd be whatever the board consensus is.
Well, the motion on the floor is to accept it as written. The new one is written.
But this is discussion.
Yeah. It's just another second deterrent too,
You know what?
even if it's half.
I could withdraw my motion. We have time to consider this. It has to be put on the warrant. And
Good.
maybe we could think about, do we want
Well,
even a partial renewal fee?
Great idea. Partial.
I'm
Just to do,
okay with
to
that.
cover the paperwork.
Yeah.
I'll withdraw my second then, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever we come up with, Catherine, whatever the board, Tim and I are working on the fees. Whatever the board decides this year what the fees are, do you want the planning board come up with a percentage
Mhm.
now and
A
then,
lot of fee work.
and then
Yeah, we could.
we can insert this here and then bring it back to the planning board?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody think so? 'Cause I think the selectmen
wanna
have
do
to approve the
50%?
actual fee.
Correct.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, but we can come
Well,
up with
here-
what we think it should be, right?
Here's my question. And I'm just using an example because I don't know what the fees are.
I don't either.
So let's just say the fee to build a house is $100. I have 2 years. I pay my $100. I come in. I have 2 years to
Well, you
build
have to
that,
renew after the first year,
but it's not costing me any fees to renew.
But that's what we're
unless we're
saying.
changing that.
I hold on. Then, okay. I thought you were talking about at the end of the 2 years.
Oh,
So after year one, they have to pay
yeah.
Okay.
At least something to, like Tom said, there's a cost, there's paperwork, people have to
Yeah.
produce the
She's got to do her
permit.
job. Yeah.
So at least some kind of partial fee.
What do we want to say? 50%? 75?
I'm okay with 50%.
50%?
I don't know what that is, but it sounds good.
Yeah, we got, because they haven't picked the fees yet.
I don't even know what, I think it's variable, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's based on the value, I believe, of what you're.
Yeah.
What class it is, a class,
Yeah.
class 1, class 2, class 3 building.
Is it?
I think when I did my windows and siding, I had to pay based on the cost of the project.
Cost.
I was gonna say, when I did my deck, it was the size of the deck.
Yeah, the size of the deck too.
I haven't had to do any major. Oh my gosh.
Because you live on a farm. I'm just saying. I don't know.
Exactly what you're saying.
I might have
That's
to
my story, and
do-
I'm sticking with it. Okay, so we'll bring this up. So
We said 50%.
a consensus is 50%.
Just got to get the wording in there. And
So I have one more question. So this is a building permit, and Cindy, just because Cindy is the technician and she works on the building permits. Go back to the house or an ADU or whatever. The building permit is a fee plus square footage. So at some point in time, we should say the language should also require 50%, whatever that figure is, plus the square footage. Does everybody understand that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't we just simply say 50% of the original building permit fee?
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
That makes it easier, more straightforward.
Don't have to use your toes. Yep.
Good.
That's easier. Okay.
What's the
Okay.
next quickie?
What's the next quickie?
Did you vote on it?
What,
We don't know
Oh.
what the fee is.
we don't know what the fees are.
Okay, got
So
it.
At least we've worked through it.
Well, I don't know if this is going to be an easy one or not easy one, the porta potty one.
Do we need to know the fee? We said 50%, so it doesn't matter what the fee is.
We're going to decide what the fee's going to go
No.
up to.
Yeah,
So
we can
I'd
change.
say no, we don't need to know the fee.
We don't need to know the fee, do we?
So that's a motion?
You have to reword this sentence here, but
Word it, it'll be easy to
reword it
pass
and
the
we'll
next
accept
time.
it.
Yeah, I'll bring it the next time. We'll get
Are
it.
you talking about 10 point blah, 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 blah?
2, yeah.
Wait, 2? I didn't,
Oh, that's this
I
one.
grabbed the wrong bag, so I don't have my,
You got it. It's in there. We gave it to you.
it's in here?
Yeah,
What
listen,
was-
I only have
All I
building
saw
permit.
was short term.
we're
That
all
was
in
the
one
last
package here.
Oh, not that Airbnb one.
I
No.
only saw the Airbnb.
No, that's going to be next week.
That's next week.
Next meeting.
Next.
That's
And
too.
this I've got, this one I have 2 building permit renewals.
Me too.
I only have one.
I got 2.
Yeah.
Here's my second.
I have short-term rentals.
Short-term
And
rental.
short-term rentals.
Cindy, where's my porta potty one?
I gotta go at 8 o'clock.
Oh, hold on.
I don't even see a porta potty.
Oh, here we go. No, I have 2 building
That's
permits.
Tuesday, 9/24 on the top.
No, we don't have that.
Don't have it.
You sure?
We got 2 building permit ones.
Positive?
Sorry.
And I'm gonna have to,
It's not in this stuff.
I have to leave at 8 o'clock.
My feeling is on that,
That's your
if we're
problem, not mine.
requiring sewer, you really need to have water. There's no sense in having sewer if you don't have water. How do you flush a toilet? What goes into the sewer? So why have the sewer if you don't have the water? So if you're gonna require
Fill
one, you
that-
need to
can
require,
fill the thing with water out of a jug.
Well,
yeah, I mean, I can go get a bucket of water from my neighbor,
I know, I'm kidding.
but You see what I'm saying? How good is a sewer without water?
Well, you can have a well and still have sewage,
Right, but you've got to have a water source.
water source. Thank you.
And I don't think
Thank you.
10.2 requires a water source, does it?
There's 10.5, by the way.
Or is it 10.5?
Yeah, this
10.5.
10.2 is what we just did.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's why I'm saying 10.2, sorry. 10.5.1, yes.
But it says, when a public system is not available, a private sewer system is required. And so,
See, nothing in there requires any type of water source.
New Hampshire Water Supply and Pollution Control Commission.
So why would you have any type of sewage disposal system, whether it's municipal or private, without water?
Well,
It doesn't serve a purpose.
speaking from a guy's perspective, well, no, because we have urinals that don't use water. So,
All right.
right?
They don't
So-
flush?
No, they just
How does it get?
Drain.
they
So
just
this-
drain.
So you're gonna have somebody go to the expense of installing
Well, I don't know. I'm
a
just
sewer or private water, private sewage disposal system.
So
Expect them
you're
all.
you're saying in this case here, it's banning outhouses.
well, you can interpret it that way.
That's another part of it.
And if you're in a construction site, you can't have a portable potty.
If you take this
Yeah, you
literally,
can.
that's what it does, but that's another problem with this ordinance.
Right.
The other one is like I said, I think we should require some sort of water system.
well.
It-
This 10.5.1 says all residential structures shall be equipped with running water.
That doesn't mean commercial properties have to.
Right.
Okay, so we'd have to change that one too to all residential and commercial structures.
And you've already approved a couple with composting.
Composting toilets. So how do they wash their hands?
Just
Alcohol.
don't pee on your hands. Don't have to wash them.
Sanitizer.
Yep, alcohol.
Alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
not whiskey, but
See,
like,
they took care of
Alcohol based.
10.5.1 below when they said all dwelling units. So now residential structures are required to have running water and some type of sewage disposal system, whether it's municipal or private. But commercial, public, and industrial buildings do not. They only have to have sewage disposal.
So it's there, but the language needs to be changed.
Hmm.
Apologize, I have to go.
And I don't know if running water that's pretty
If you put it on.
subjective.
Oh, you got it on already. Pack up your things.
I
She's coming.
haven't.
Don't you think? I mean, I understand what running water is, but somebody could argue.
You want to throw that away?
See you
There's
later.
the trash over there.
Now, if I have a brook flowing through, isn't that running water?
Do we have? I'm just thinking. Do we have? Can someone live in a recreational vehicle?
No.
Mm-mm.
No.
Well, 30 days.
30 days. Okay.
30 days, and then they can drive off and go right back again and start it all over again.
Right, but I can't. So let's just say I have
think
a.
No.
Doesn't it say in a calendar year?
Mm.
So if I have a, let's just say I have a lot, right?
What?
A lot, a piece of property.
Yeah.
I have 100 by 100 piece of property, and I park my RV on it for the summer months.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Can't.
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay. I just know in other towns in New Hampshire you can, so that's why I'm asking.
Can't.
But it's a dwelling unit, isn't it?
Well, that's what
So
I was going to
agree-
further connect. Okay, does the holding tank count as a
No,
system, disposal system?
No, it's a holding system, not a disposal system.
right. That's exactly right.
But you can have the portable guys come take care of that for you
Right.
at a specific time.
Well, I have a
But that
friend that,
still doesn't make it a septic system.
no,
So I think that we should add language to 10.5.2 that requires running water. And we can think about it. I mean, it doesn't affect
Yeah.
that decision
And
tonight.
I want to just draw your attention to something. When Donna turned 75, we had a party for her. We had 85 people there, and I had a porta potty,
Yeah.
and they weren't allowed in the house. Well, ladies with special needs do, but the idea is you can't have 80 people running through your house using it. So the porta potty was there,
Right.
and 2 days later, I called them the next day, and the day after that, they showed up, and everything was hunky dory. So those are the things that concern me, especially with the house construction. Brings back the story of down at the corner there with the old Ted Perrin's house. Across the way there, the guy built a log house, and it took him 3.5 years to build it.
Right.
Yeah.
And he had a porta potty out there,
And I think
no
to,
running water.
to your point, it should say after where it says shall not be acceptable, it should say should not be acceptable as a sewage disposal system, as a substitute for a sewage disposal. Well, no, we can't because that's still doing it.
yeah, but you can have a porta potty temporarily.
That's right. I mean, the town of Tilton has one right now set up on 132.
Can have one that like a seasonal
Or
special
even,
events. There's weddings all over town.
right, and you don't want, if
Right.
Tom doesn't want 80 people flushing 500 times in a day on a support septic system.
We need to think of what language to add to the portable toilet part of that
Correct.
that allows them as a temporary use.
Right. That's the issue.
So these weren't as easy as we thought.
So
You said
those, I
these
mean,
were
for
most
me, those are
easy.
the two issues.
Yeah.
Right. I struggled with this one a lot, and
With that.
yeah, yep.
There's another issue with our zoning ordinances. What is the penalty for violating a zoning ordinance? For most of them, yes. I think signage might have its own, and there's a water section that has its own. But if I violate a zoning ordinance that doesn't have its own, it's not clear to me that there's any penalty involved. At least not in our ordinance. Read through it. I mean, I can't find anything in there that says, for violating the town of Tilton zoning ordinances, it'll be a violation or penalty or anything.
Right.
It's very specific. Like I said, I think it's signage, and I'm pretty sure it's one of the water ordinances. Other than that,
It should be.
there should be something. And we could take either one of those and add it to the language that, So check it out, please, because maybe you'll have better luck than I did.
I think the other thing too is the certificate of occupancy. It doesn't really state. And in our world today, people take things so literal. It really doesn't state that you should get a certificate of occupancy before moving in or opening a business.
I don't think most people even know what that is.
It's we've had 2 or 3
Do you think most people know
people
what that
that
is?
have
I don't think-
renovated entire houses, a 6 apartment building completely, and we've had realtors call up and say, "Hey, can we get a copy of the certificate of occupancy?" Or what? We didn't even know they were doing it. So, interesting, because it doesn't state they need to get a certificate of occupancy before they move in. So we need to talk about that the next, at the workshop.
Just to put a iron in the fire, what about a person who remodels their house by themselves and they're occupying it while they're doing it? They go and get a permit to remodel the kitchen, but they're living in the rest of the house. So you have to have a plumber, you have to have an electrician, and probably cabinet maker. I don't know, maybe they're crafty enough to do it themselves, but the idea is that they can't vacate the house, so they can't afford it, And I think this day where we need affordable housing, that's one way of, couples starting out in life, get a fixer-upper, tear it apart room by room or whatever, cheek by jowl. Sometimes and I've seen it living in an RV while they're remodeling the house. But, there's a couple of stipulations that say you can reside in a remodeled building. And I think I can find it in the RSA somewhere.
Well, we've had that I think we've had 1 or 2 in the past years that have gone to zoning and asked for a special exception to live in a either a manufactured home or an RV or something while they're
Yeah, we had one.
building the home,
Sure.
so that they can
Your
do
way,
that.
Jay.
So they can do that depending on the circumstances. But yeah, we've had a lot of people that are remodeling their homes interior and still living in their homes.
Yeah.
We have that now, but
I see that all over the place.
yeah, but we have a lot of house flippers that think they're exempt from coming in and getting permits.
Well, especially if you have an older home, like my house, there's no certificate of occupancy on file for my house. It's over 200 years old. There was nothing back then. You just built your house, lived in it.
Right.
And I've not had occasion to do any major remodeling, so there would be nothing that would require it. So,
Just to think you want to jump into the modern age, but the town of Sampleton has none of those. They don't have any of it. You can piece of property, put a house up. They don't care.
I'm kidding.
And that's right across the street from me.
Well, I
There's-
tore a cabin down, and I didn't. If Pat hadn't told me, I wouldn't have known I had to have a permit to do that.
Yeah.
Demolition.
Yeah.
And a lot of that permitting is so that the assessors are aware.
Taxes, yeah.
It just goes in your tax card thing. Yeah.
The assessors are aware
But I wouldn't have thought
of
about
the
it.
activity.
All
I
right.
wouldn't have thought about
So we got
that.
our work cut out for our next meeting where we're going to have a workshop,
Yes.
6
I
p.m.
think we should adjourn for tonight. How do you think?
We have
Yep.
2 minutes to approve. Do you want
We
to
got
get
minutes.
those?
Oh, jeepers. Yep, minutes.
Do what?
We have 2 sets of minutes to approve, September 9th
Okay.
Yep.
and October 8th. Did everyone get a chance to review those?
Yep. Make a motion to approve the 8th.
Of October?
Mm-hmm.
Second.
Motion a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All
I'm
those.
still reading.
Oh, Tom's still reading. Sorry, Mr.
I wasn't there, so I'm going to abstain.
Ah,
Aye.
Aye.
one abstain.
He abstained. Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion for the minutes of September 9th, 2024.
Did you just make it?
Hmm?
Did you just make the motion?
Oh, sure. I'll make the motion.
I'll second that. I've been sitting in a meeting all afternoon. I'm so tired. I'm gonna have to
Okay.
be at a meeting at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Any discussion on those?
Wow.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, motion second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. We are adjourned at 8:10
Wow.
p.m.
Wow.